Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? I go by RB, and this is Philly Take with RB. If you guys are excited about the NBA returning to action, take a second and smash that like button. And if you're new and you want to stay updated on some great Philly content, well, be sure to hit that subscribe. We have a lot of Philadelphia 76ers videos coming out soon now that the NBA has announced they are returning to play next month on July 31st. But first off, I want to start it off with a good discussion today about the Sixers' remaining schedule. Now, if you haven't heard, the NBA is bringing back 13 teams from the West, 9 from the East. Whatever teams you are expected to play that are the next 8 on your schedule is who you will play. However, if there is a team that is now not returning to competition, for example, the Hawks, the Warriors, the Cavs, a team like that who has not been invited as part of the 22-team tournament to come back, you will skip over that game. So basically, you will play the next 8 out of the teams that are still relevant. We know the Sixers ended off the season 39-26 before this whole suspension happened. And now that we are back, the Sixers, who are 29-2 at home, I am interested to see how things transpire. Obviously, we're going to be playing at a neutral location in Disney World, in Orlando. So it's going to be very, very different in terms of the atmosphere, crowd noise, even just no fans in a sense. It's going to be very different, guys. But today, like I said, I want to talk about what I am predicting for the Sixers as they return to play. So, as you can see right here on the screen, I have listed the 8 games that the Sixers have remaining on the schedule. They include the Indiana Pacers, the Washington Wizards, the Raptors, Suns, Trailblazers, Rockets, Wizards again, and then the Orlando Magic. Those are the next 8 teams the Sixers are scheduled to play. And overall, this is not a bad schedule at all by any means. I am happy with the teams we are playing. Nothing too crazy on this schedule, all right? Now, do I believe the Sixers are going to come out right away firing on all cylinders? No, I don't. But I also don't think any of these other teams are going to come back with that same momentum, that same aspiration that they had before. It's going to take some time to click it all together, and that's why I'm glad they're playing some games before the playoffs. As you know, the Sixers have already clinched a playoff spot, right? So like I said, there's 9 teams in the East. They just have to be in the top 8, and they've already clinched. Okay, the only teams that haven't clinched are the Nets, the Magic, and the Wizards. So in terms of the Sixers, these 8 games are just going to be about getting back into that rhythm, trying to play basketball. Now, we're going to go game by game and predict these, but overall, I just want to say, I'm expecting for the Sixers to find that identity. That is what they need to do during these 8 games. I don't want to come back and see the same old things, right? I don't want to see Brett being Brett, the players playing, like gods one game, and the next game they don't even know who's supposed to take over. I hope that Brett has taken this time to figure something out and that the guys get going. Now, as for the first game, the Indiana Pacers, I think the Sixers will come back. If you don't know by now, the Sixers are tied with the Pacers for 5th in the Eastern Conference, both 14 games back. I think we come out on a good note and we win that game. The next game, we play the Washington Wizards. I think we win that as well. The Wizards are fighting for that 8th spot. They're in the 9th spot right now. Even if John Wall comes back, I don't think the Wizards will have enough power. And I know they beat us earlier in the year in that one game, but I think the Sixers handle business the first 2 games back and kind of set the tone, But then we play the Toronto Raptors. I think that the Sixers will struggle with that game, and it just seems like Toronto's always had our number. Ultimately, I think we dropped that one. We play the Phoenix Suns the next game. Even though they have Devin Booker, they have some firepower, I just have seen them regress from what we saw over the season so far. I think the Sixers win that game. Then we play Portland. We played them early on. I think it was Game 5 of the season when Furkan hit that game winner. You can never count out Portland. You can never sleep on them. Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum. But overall, I just think that they aren't living up to the kind of season that they wanted to, and I just don't think it's their year. So overall, I think the Sixers take care of business. Might be close, but I think we beat the Trailblazers. Then we play the Houston Rockets, all right? And this is a team that I feel like always kind of has the Sixers number. Not only the Houston Rockets, not only James Harden, who can really shoot from anywhere and is just crazy with some of the moves that he can finesse on the court. But now they have Russell Westbrook, who always seems to have the Sixers number no matter what. And even though they're playing small ball, they traded Clint Capella. They're going small. I mean, they have Robert Covington. They're playing a small ball lineup. And I know Joel can feast on them. It really just depends if they're on that night, shooting-wise, or if they're not. And I just feel with Russell Westbrook and James Harden, I just feel like they're going to attack the Sixers. I'll say that we lose that game. And then we play the Washington Wizards and the Orlando Magic to finish things off. Personally, I feel like one of those will be a trap game, whether it's the Wizards or Magic. I'm picking us to beat the Wizards again and lose to Orlando on the last game of the season. The reason I'm saying that is because I expect Orlando in the last game of the season, right? Right now in the Eastern Conference, the Sixers are 14 back, but then after that is the Brooklyn Nets at 22.5 back, and Orlando's 23 back. So over these 8 games, I feel like Orlando's really going to be fighting their way up to that 7th spot in order to avoid playing the Bucks in the first round. So I think it might come down to, that last game, and I think Orlando's going to come hungry, but the Sixers, we're just going to be, trying different pieces out, kind of resting, that last game, getting ready for the playoffs. So I'll take Orlando beating us that game. I'm hoping that we don't lose to the Wizards either the first or second time, because I could see some of these potentially being trap games, even the Phoenix Suns. I just hope we come out and we have that rhythm and we find our identity. But overall, I think that this Sixers schedule, these 8 games, are not bad at all, especially when you start to compare it to some of the other teams that are sitting around the Sixers in the Eastern Conference. You look at a team like Boston and Miami and the Pacers. Boston doesn't have too bad of a schedule. I've put it up here on the screen. I think Boston's going to take care of business. They play the Bucks and the Raptors early on, but after that, it gets pretty, nonchalant for them. In terms of Miami, I think Miami has a tough schedule. I really do. They play the Bucks early on. They play a hungry team like the Thunder. They play the Nuggets, even the Pacers. And then later on, they play the Celtics, possibly twice, and they play the Pacers again. So those 2 matchups between Miami and the Pacers are really is what it's going to come down to for that 4th and 5th and 6th spots. In terms of Toronto, right now they sit 6.5 back behind Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee's pretty solidified at the top. Toronto has a tough schedule, I'm not going to lie, but the last 2 games against Milwaukee, I feel like Milwaukee will already be complacent with that number 1 seed, and I feel like Toronto will be able to take advantage of that easily, and I think they'll win most of their games, even though they do play the Lakers and the Nuggets. They do play the Grizzlies twice, so I think Toronto will handle business, and they will remain at the number 2 seed behind Milwaukee. 3, 4, 5, and 6 is where it gets very interesting, folks. Like I said, with Boston and Miami, the Sixers, Pacers. Overall, I think the Boston Celtics will win, at least 5 of their games, maybe 6. They were on a run before we ended basketball. I'm not saying that really will translate or anything, but overall, Brad Stevens will have those boys ready. I think they will be okay, and I think they'll win by at least 1 or 2 games, that 3rd seed. Now it comes down to the 4, 5, 6. Like I said, Miami has a tough schedule. If they were to start dropping games, right? If they were to start dropping games against the Bucks and the Pacers could slide up. Or the Sixers. I've been talking about potential sleeper teams. The Sixers rallied off 5 in a row. Man, we could find ourselves at the 4 seed. Now, it's not going to matter. Either way, we're going to end up playing one of these teams. But it would look good for the posture of the Sixers, right? Like, just come out and show us something. Show us that you've changed. Don't come out with the same staleness that we've seen all year. That's the same team that was supposed to be a defensive powerhouse, but has fizzled out for most of the year, right? So I think that Miami is going to struggle, but ultimately, I think they pull the games out against the Pacers, and that is really the deciding factor. I think the 4, 5, 6 seeds end up being decided by maybe a half game to a game for all 3 of these teams. Ultimately, I think Miami's going to stay at the 4 seed, and I think the Sixers and Pacers is where it really comes down to. It will be decided by probably a game or less. Overall, I think the Sixers are going to win 5 out of 8 of these games. I think we're going to go 5-3. I think the Pacers could also potentially go 5-3. So it's really going to come down to the little things, maybe a game or two. The Pacers do play a couple rough teams like the Clippers and Lakers, but again, they are on the end of their schedule. So I think those teams will already be complacent with where they're at, and they'll probably be, trying out different pieces, trying to get their rotation solidified heading into the playoffs. So I think the Pacers will be okay, and they might end up, taking that 5 seed by a game or tying with us or whatever. But in terms of a first round playoff matchup, guys, you are looking for the Sixers, in my opinion, against either the Boston Celtics or the Miami Heat. Those are the most likely options. I think the 1 through 6 seeds probably remain the same as they are now, maybe switched up a little bit. But overall, you can expect us to play the Celtics or the Heat. And to be honest, both of those provide feasible series, for the Sixers. Both are going to present different types of challenges. But overall, I think they're going to be good series either way, 5, 6, maybe even 7 games. And those would be some very good first round playoff matchups. I hope the atmosphere would be there. I hope it would feel not artificial, and actually have that playoff taste to it. But I mean, we played Boston 2 years ago, and we saw what happened. We played Miami, 2 years ago. We saw what happened. But these teams are a lot different. Going up against Jimmy Butler or going up against Brad Stevens again would be crazy. Now, if you guys haven't checked it out, I did post a video about a month and a half ago after Elton Brand had his press conference, talking about the Celtics. And I made a video talking about a potential matchup against the Celtics in the first round. Obviously, I didn't know about the whole fan situation yet, but you guys should definitely go check it out. I'll leave it in the description and right here and at the end of the video as well, so you can see some of my pointers on that. A lot of people have been checking it out. But anyway, in terms of the Celtics or Heat, I do think that is who the Sixers will end up playing, one of those teams. And I think it's going to be a heck of a series. I think the Sixers go 5-3, end up in the 5 or 6 seed, and end up playing the Celtics or Heat. And I'm excited to see what happens. We're going to be posting a lot of other videos giving, key factors, our playoff rotation. A whole bunch is coming, guys. But for now, let me know down below, what are your thoughts? What do you think the Sixers record will be in the 8 games when they come back? Who do you think we will end up facing up against in the first round of the playoffs? Let me know all your guys' thoughts down below. Hope you're excited like I am. Appreciate you for stopping by. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Perfect. Perfect.